Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, people of the world. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. Everyone's a special guest because they take time to join me on my show. I'm here with Joe Mindak, and he is the author of Connectors Get Paid. And, you know, all about the positive filter. I love the thoughts of building relationships, networking, how those things really make an impact. And so Joe and I are going to have a great conversation about networking. I particularly work in higher ed, and I tell young people all the time, you know, I don't really like that network is your net worth thing, but I do believe in that mindset that your relationships do yield opportunities. So I tell young people as they're actively seeking jobs that not only like apply and all that, but build connections, come to these events, you know, connect with employers, because that will yield opportunities. And I think Joe, with his book, is an expert on that networking mindset. So before we get started with this conversation, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so it's interesting you're in higher ed because I've been teaching at Stevens Institute in Hoboken for years, and I same thing, teaching these kids that all these people you're in the classroom with, connect to them, get
Yes.
treat them right and treat them nice, because 5 years from now, there's people you're going to come back to looking for a job or something, right? So I'll do that. So yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school in Ohio, University of Dayton. I came back from school with an education degree, which is what got me into teaching finally. After 30 years, I finally used my degree in the actual field I was in. And it was great because I got to teach entrepreneurship, which is what I know about. So I started a marketing company, had that for 20 years, sold it about 5-6 years ago. And I was, your human capital and this network I built over the last 25, 30 years, well, it was very valuable. And I was always connecting people. I was always the guy people were like, hey, Joe, can you connect me to Phil? Well, because, I know Phil. Let me make an introduction, right? And people like to do that. There's a certain, endorphin that releases in your brain when you do something like that. It just makes you feel good when you make that connection. And we all do that, right? We all want to connect people and help our friends and colleagues and stuff. But I had made a connection to an old client of mine. Had called me, said, I need a website. I said, well, listen, I don't do that anymore. I sold that company a year ago. I'm not in that space, but what do you need? He said, I need this and I need to do that. I said, all right, well, these guys I know that run an agency, they would be a perfect fit for what you're doing, because they had a website in Cold Fusion, which probably nobody even knows about. It's such an old platform. So these guys had a Cold Fusion guy on staff. So I made the introduction. I walked my client into their office, sat with them for an hour, and he hired them for $100,000. And I was like, that was a nice gift to be like, here, hey, Phil, here's $100,000 project for you. I should have got something for that, right? I called him back and I was like, hey guys, listen, how about I bring you some more work? I just brought that into you, and what if I bring you more work and you pay me a commission, pay me a referral fee for bringing that? And they were like, yeah, and these were young guys at the time. They were like late 20s, just starting out. This was their biggest project they ever landed, and I basically brought it right into them. So they were like, we'll give you 15% of whatever you bring to me, and we'll pay you 15% on that deal that you already brought us, because we want to thank you for that. So they sent me a check for $15,000, and I was like, that was the easiest money I ever made, right? Now it was easy for me to make that introduction, but it was that relationship I built over the last 20 years with Tom that made that easy for him to call me and say, Joe, I trust you. You know everybody. Who should I use for this, right? Like if you're gonna redo your kitchen in your house, you're gonna call your neighbor and be like, hey, I love what the contract here. Who'd you use? I want to talk to that person, right? So they paid me on that, and I was like, well, who else do I know? I know a lot of marketing people. Like that was my space. So I got like, I don't know, a dozen agencies I knew and said, hey guys, how about I send you video work or SEO work or whatever you do? And if you get a deal, pay me. And everyone, and I would say 99% of businesses are like, yeah, Phil, if you could get me into one of your fraternity brothers, that's the CMO of XYZ company, and you could get me a meeting with them, I am happy to pay you a commission because I'm not paying a salesperson. So it just worked out for everybody. And I sent those referrals around all year. I brought in about $850,000 in business to those companies, which yielded me about $85,000 in commissions, because about 10% on average. And the client was happy because they got a referral to somebody that could do a good job for them, right? Those clients who called me back, Joe, thank you for introducing me to Phil. He's been great. He's really changed our business, right? So they're happy. I'm happy for making some commission, and the agency's happy. So from there, we just got I got a bunch of other people together. Said, how about we do this networking thing a little bit differently? How about we all help each other? But if you get a deal, Phil, pay into the pot. Decide what your commission might be. Just like you would if you had a salesperson. You want to pay 7%, 10%, 12%. And if you get an introduction by somebody in the group, you pay into the group, and then we split it. So if it's $1,000 commission, you take 500, I'll take 500, and I'll build the group, and I'll manage the whole thing, and we'll partner up. So I'll bring the people. Now you can refer those people, and any deal that happens. So now we have over 500 members across the country. We have 17 chapters of the Connective, which is my networking group. And then we built a software called Nolodex, your networking Rolodex, to track it all, right? Because it got 50
like a
people.
CRM.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like a Salesforce.
Yes, yeah.
And to keep it organized, that's what they
right, keeps it all organized. This person sent that person a deal, then they could pay it on the platform. They could track their referrals, every week, go on and see who they sent referrals to, follow up. And then if they get the deal, they pay it on the platform. The platform takes the referral fee and then spits it out how the community wants to divide that money up, however they want to do it. So we do fraternities and alumni associations and chambers of commerce and all those communities.
I was about to say chamber, BNIs. These are all spaces. So that's great. And then what brought you to write the book? And we'll go into your thoughts on networking. But I want I love this idea about your journey to this. But what brought you to book? And then I have some questions about your philosophy on networking.
Yeah, so I always like to write. I wouldn't consider I wasn't a writer by trade or anything like that. I owned a magazine for years, and I used to write articles for that. I just enjoyed writing about stuff, and I wrote a book a few years ago talking about we're talking about the you're in higher ed, and I was teaching. Yeah, I love to get back, so I wrote a book a few years ago about all the things I did poor in my business when I was starting, right? All the screw ups I had. And the book was basically like, don't do this, Phil. Like every book is telling you what to do to grow your business. Well, here's some things you shouldn't do, right? So I wrote that book. I didn't publish that one yet. I still have it on the shelf. I got to dust it off. I wanted to really finish with a big sale of a company to end it with, right? So, but so I always wanted to write another book. And as we're talking about this whole new way to network and say, hey, connectors like me and other people that are great connectors have always been like, I always wish I got paid on all those referrals I've sent out over the years. I've sent hundreds of thousands of dollars in referrals, and I'm lucky if I got a Starbucks gift card for a deal. Now it's like, you should be getting paid, right? So the book is called Connectors Get Paid. We trademarked that saying because that's our whole mantra. If you're a good connector, you should be getting paid. You're the person that's always giving those leads. I was always the guy giving all the referrals out in any group I was in. And at the end of the month, I would get like a little printout that said I gave the most referrals again this month. And I'm like, great, let me put that over there. No, I want to get referrals back. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't great at giving referrals, and it's okay, right? But when you're in a group, if I'm giving you 5 referrals, Phil, and you haven't given me one back, I'm kind of like, just human nature. Not that it's mean or anything. It's like, all right, Phil, you're not giving me anything back. Like, I'm going to stop giving you referrals. Like, it kind of like, I'm hoping that you're going to give me some back. Now it's like, Phil, if I give you a referral and you pay me, I'm going to keep that flywheel going. I'm going to keep sending you more business, because every time I send you business, you're good at closing, you pay it back. So if you're great at connecting, now it's your time. You should be getting paid. So the book is really saying to everyone, hey, if you're a good connector, you should be getting paid. If you're running a community and bringing all these people together to do business together, you should get a little cut of every deal that goes through your community, right? We should all get a little something for the deals we're putting through. So the book is really, it's called Connectors Get Paid, How to Build a Referral Network That Pays. So we built this referral network of 500 something people that are all paying each other. Other communities should follow suit, right? So chambers are out there and they have these people, but they're not getting engagement, right? People are engaging. They just, when they're not going to an event every month, or they're not being able to do these meetings, how do they engage with these other 500 people in the chamber that they should be doing business with? Well, now they can go on a Nolodex platform and look up everybody in there by industry, by location, whatever it is, and start connecting to those people more easily so they can get business for themselves, right? Alumni, you talk about alumni. I spoke with my alumni. I'm like, I haven't done business with anyone in 30 years from my alumni. Like, I just don't have a way to connect with other alumni. And You should, right? You should be able to connect. You said your fraternity, like I'm sure if one of your fraternity brothers hit you up on LinkedIn, you would respond, right? Because you got that bond in that
Yes.
fraternity. Now it's like, okay, I'll respond, but hey, I should get a little something for introducing you to that person. And the fraternity, the foundation, usually these fraternities have like a foundation, a cut of every deal could go to the foundation. Now you're helping the younger guys that are trying to get in the fraternity that maybe can't pay dues. Now you're giving some money back to the foundation so they could cover the person's dues that wants to be in a fraternity but can't afford it, right? So everyone's helping each other. So we're doing these deals, we're helping get business, but it's all around that whole connectors get paid philosophy where, hey, I'm connecting, I'm happy to get paid. And the people that aren't good at connecting are like, yes, Phil, if you introduce me, I'm happy to pay you a commission. I'm happy to pay you a referral fee for getting me in the door there. And oh, by the way, I'm also helping my fraternity or my alumni or my chamber or whatever it might be. I'm happy to do that. So everybody wins in the situation, right?
So I ain't gonna lie, like, I'm like the Where's Waldo, or like the Forrest Gump, and I believe I am a good connector. But one of the things as someone that wants to monetize a skill or something that comes natural is, how do you, one, examine your price point? Like for instance, I do public speaking, but there's no like guide to say like you charge this. You got to throw it out there and just hope, like, hey, I want you to come talk to me, and like talk to this group, and you're like, okay, what's your rate? And you're like, I don't know, like there's no set rate,
Right.
$200, whatever. So like, how do you know your rate when you're like, oh, like I said, I can connect people like, oh, I got a friend that does that and all that, but how do you know your rate? How do you know what to ask in return for that commission without scaring someone off or saying, oh, you know, um, you're gatekeeping connections. Like, how do you do that? How do you examine your worth in that connecting space?
Yeah, so we let every member decide what they want to pay, right? Because I don't know what your margins are for your speaking gig. Is it you speaking, or do you have other people go to speak? What's your cost to get there? So if you get 5 grand to speak, but it costs you 2,500 to get there, and hotel rooms and this and that, like what's
Yeah.
your profit margin on that? You decide what's good for you, right? Because you're turning all these people into salespeople for you, right? So if you have a
Mhm.
group, you're saying, hey, I will pay all you people a commission if you bring me a deal. So every one of our members decides what they want to pay. So some people that have larger deals, right, might pay 3%. If they got a $500,000 deal, they might pay less. If they're a $10,000 deal, they might pay 10%. And if it's them doing the work and it's you speaking, that money's all going to your pocket. So you might make a little bit more. So everyone has to decide what they want to charge. And look, when companies are starting out, like, yeah, you don't know what to charge. When I first started our group, we were charging $500 a month. I mean, a year, right? And then
Mhm.
after we built up to a good value, we raised our rates and we raised it to $100 a month. Now we charge 125 a month, right? So you could slowly raise your rates. Like when I used to have my marketing agency for years, I would charge, I don't know, $10,000 for a website, right? And then we got bigger clients, and all of a sudden I said, all right, Phil, it's $15,000 for my services. So you could slowly continue to build your rates up and get clients that are willing to pay because you're offering more value now, right? The more experience you have in a field, the more value you're adding, right? So when you're starting out speaking, right, you don't have that much experience now. Hey, I've spoken at South by Southwest. I did a TED talk. I did it.
Mhm.
Hey,
Yeah.
now I'm worth more. So you could charge more and people are willing to pay what the value is, right? It's like when you're buying a house. Like we just bought a new house, right? We overpaid for the house we bought, but we wanted that. So the value of the house is what we're what we're willing to pay for that, what we want.
Yeah.
So somebody's looking at you, Phil. Hey, I really want you to speak. I love your positive filter message. You'd be a great speaker for our event. Yeah, I'll pay you 5 grand when normally I'm paying somebody 3,500, right? So it's really the value that you put out there and what you're worth. So everyone's got to kind of figure that out as they go. And then again, the commission is up to them what they got to pay. And look, nobody's set in stone. Like if you say I'm going to pay
Mhm.
10%, and I introduce you to a speaking gig, right? And say they have $5,000 budget, and all of a sudden they come back to you and say, hey, Phil, listen, we like you. Budget's a little lighter. We don't have the much
Yeah.
attendance. We got to pay you 4 grand for this gig. You could change it in the platform and say, look, Joe, hey, thank you for introducing me to that client. They cut me down to 4 grand. I can't pay 10%, still make the margins I want. Can I cut this commission down to 7%? And that's what you could do when you finally, whatever the final is, you decide what that might be. So you might drop it to 7% because they cut your rate a little bit. So there's always some negotiation in there.
So you have to be willing to negotiate, and you have to be willing to throw out something and just be okay with that. You have to like make a not a risk assessment, but a value assessment and say, maybe lowering my rate or lowering this will yield a positive relationship. So I'm willing to slide there for that because it will pay off in the long run, right? Kind of thing.
Right. And depending on who that is that you're dealing with, right? What can it do for your business in the long run? So like when I had the marketing agency, we did a trade show, right? And it was interesting because it was a health and beauty show, right, in New York City called HBA. And it was all people in the health and beauty industry, but it was like caps for bottles, filling perfume
Mm-hmm.
and all that, the actual glass bottles. Every vendor was that, right? Because that's what they were
Mm-hmm.
selling at the show. We went in and took a booth as a marketing agency and a graphic design,
Okay.
a creative agency, and we did this crazy booth, right? All the booths, Phil, had mahogany, display cases, glass display cases with all their bottles, and it was all the same, row after row is the same type of thing, right? We go in and we put a mystical forest theme. So we had the background of our booth was this forest graphic, right? And then we had Glade air fresheners that were like the smell of the forest. And then we had like monkeys and birds in the background chirping. It was all the five senses. And then we hired a model in a bikini. It doesn't sound like nothing like, you know, it was just so we put her in a bikini so we could paint. We had an artist paint the model to blend into the background of the booth. It was so cool. So the models blended into the forest theme with the leaves and all that stuff. So by the end of the day, you could almost see her, you hardly see her
It's like a
in the
3D. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so a woman from Pfizer, right? Pfizer is one of the biggest companies in the world, stops by our booth, says, she's standing there looking. I'm like, hey, how you doing? She goes, good. My name's Roxanne. I said, she said, what do you guys do? I said, we're a creative agency. She goes, yeah, this is really creative. Like, this is cool. So I wound up getting a meeting with her and I said, listen, we will do a project for free. Give us a project. She was in charge of package design. So when you go to the store, CVS, and you see Robitussin, Sapsic,
Yeah.
Advil, all those boxes, when you walk to there, it's called a planogram. You look at all the choices you have and your eyes go to what you see. So you have to have a great design on there. So I said, just give us a shot. If you don't like what you see, you don't have to pay us anything. But if you do, we do. So I went in, we presented to Pfizer. They were like, this is the most creative stuff we've seen. Right. And at the time, boxes, remember Robitussin was like a green box and a
Yeah.
black box. It was like there was no creative to it. So we had these kids on there it was for Dimetaps. So it was children's Dimetaps. So
Oh
we
yeah, I
had
remember Diamond Tap. Was that the purple? The grape the grape
yeah,
flavor?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was all I got. So we had kids like flying in on a tissue because it was like they had this. We had a kid with this on the nose with it was red, and there was actual drawings. They loved it, and we got into Pfizer. And the first job we did, we didn't charge them anything, right? And then over the next few years, they were our biggest client. And not only were we making a lot of money off of them because they had good money to spend, right? Our margins on their stuff was huge, but also anytime I went into a new client, hey Phil, you should use our marketing agency. Oh yeah, Joe, what type of clients you work with? You ever hear of Pfizer?
Pfizer.
And it just
Yeah.
shuts it
Yeah.
down. It is like there you go. So the whole point is like if you're if you're going to do a speaking gig, you're going to do a job for somebody, you might want to lower your rates just to get in for that person because what it gives you on the credibility side. Any other client for the next few years that ask us who we work with, as long as we say Pfizer, they're like, oh, well, Pfizer's paying you, then I should use you guys. I could get the same agency that Pfizer's using. And it could backfire a little bit because some people are like, well, we can't afford Pfizer prices. I said, listen, Phil, not
Yeah,
all our
yeah.
clients are Pfizer. We have
So,
one Pfizer,
yeah.
like
So the psychology of it. It's a
right.
risk,
And
but
yeah,
also you kind of read the room and you kind of understand like brand recognition and name recognition and maybe audience. Like to certain people, Pfizer's a big deal. Some people never heard of Pfizer, so you would throw out that Pfizer brand or name to an audience you knew would probably
right. Like
appreciate that name.
my buddy worked for Novo Nordisk, which is another big,
Yeah.
pharma company, and I hit him up, his friend from high school. I actually saw him on Facebook, and he was the brand director. I said, "Hey Ed, listen, we're doing some cool work for Pfizer. I'd love to talk to you." He's like, "Yeah, come on in." He showed him some stuff. Next thing you know, we work for Novo Nordisk, but we already had that Pfizer here. Like, okay, Pfizer's already put their trust in you and already said you guys are good. Good, we'll try you guys out. And we started working for them too, and it led to a bunch of other clients.
Well, I now just kind of thinking about it, we were talking about the high macro and the real business part, but I really knowing that you talk to the college kids at Stevens or Stevenson,
Stevens, yeah, Stevens.
Stevens. So let's go back to networking 101. Um, Tell us a little bit of why young people should invest in building their social capital and networking, particularly while they're in school, in college.
Well, look, it goes back to sales 101, right? It's all about who you know. It's always been that way. It's who do you know? Who can you get me an invitation to go talk to, right? So that's why I teach the kids and say, listen, talk to, connect with your professors now on LinkedIn, connect with your other
Mhm.
classmates, because again, these are the people you're going to be talking to in the future to get a new job, or maybe you have a company and you're trying to get into such and such company. And oh, Sarah from my class is
Mhm.
there. Oh, I remember her,
Mhm.
right? And again, you better be nice to these people while you're in college because
Yes.
it comes back to you. I've been interviewing for jobs for internships I hired this summer, right? And it's really interesting. I thought about writing another book on this. So, my kids went to Westfield High School where we grew up,
Mhm.
and now I sent a post on Facebook. Hey, anyone have college kids home for the summer that
Oh
looking for internships?
yes.
Right. So I sent out a bunch and I sent it to the hometown. You want to use a kid from your hometown, but every kid that came on, I would ask my kids about them. Hey, you know this
Yes.
Phil Wilkerson kid? Yeah, I know Phil Dad. Oh, yeah, he's a really nice guy. Or, that person
He was
was
a bull. Yeah. Yeah.
right. Like
It
this
goes
stuff
back.
comes back to you. Like it come back. So
Yeah.
now my kids are almost vetting out the people I'm going to hire. Right.
Yeah. That's
And
real.
and even one of the kids, I had uh, an incident at a basketball game, and he was yelling at the refs, cursing at the refs, pointing at this ref. This poor guy making whatever $15 an hour refing a game on a Saturday, and this
Yeah.
kid is yelling at him, cursing at him, throwing the f bomb at him, and then he applies for a job with me. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
You
not getting that
remember
job, man.
that?
I saw how you
Yeah.
acted, look, I know he's in high school, but that attitude
No,
doesn't seem
civility and yeah, civility and all that, and it came back. And
yeah.
that's crazy. Like how okay, I love that story because you never know. Like you walk in rooms and you don't know who how you carry yourself can come back. When was that basketball game to the interview? Was like a couple years later or months later or like because like it's just that's a very fascinating story about that.
Yeah, it was 3 so this was senior year in high school, and this kid just graduated, or just finished junior year in college. So 4 years later, I don't forget, like, it was
Yeah.
very, like, to treat somebody like that, I don't know, what the deal was, but it's like, it was hard to be like, I'm gonna interview you, and you're not getting this job, he
Mhm.
did apologize to my son at some point, which was good, but so I took the interview with him just to be nice, and I knew his dad, but it wasn't gonna happen. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to get over that because you just forget that, and who knows. So yeah, you gotta start networking when you're in college and start hitting up. Like my kids are on LinkedIn now. I said start hitting up me, all my friends that my cousins, my sisters, brothers, whoever start hitting them up because you don't know who they know, right? And it's gonna happen. My son is in engineering at Pitt, and he was
Yeah.
trying to get an internship for the summer. And he was, and to his credit, he's like, "I got it, Dad." Like he was like, "I don't need you, right?" He knows what
Yeah.
connect people for a living. I'm like, Finn, listen, you got to let me help you. Like after finally
Mm.
at Christmas, he wasn't getting any interviews, wasn't doing it. I said, Finn, I know you want to do it on your own, but you got to. It's all about who you know because if I don't get you in there, Phil's going to get his nephew in there, right? Because he knows somebody at that company. So I got him 2 interviews. One of them I got through the CFO of the company, right? The CFO, right? So the CFO typically say, "Hey, Phil, listen, I want you, you work below me in the company. I want you to interview my friend's kid, whatever." He got a good shot of getting that job. He didn't get the job, even though he's
Mhm.
recommended by the CFO of the company. He didn't get that job. And the other job he got through my friend Matt, who knew a guy at another place in Pennsylvania, got him the interview, and my son got the job. And he finally realized that it is about who you know. So I knew Matt, who connected me to his friend. He vouched for it, and he got the job. But it's going to be all about who you know. So that network you build of people is going to come back tenfold all through your career, right? And again, you want to make sure you're always taking care of people, always doing the right thing, never burning bridges because it could come back to you. I had a guy Yoshi that connected to a couple years ago. He hit me up on LinkedIn and said, "Joe, what are you doing? I need this, that." And I start talking to him. Uh, he's like, "Listen, I never forgot what you did for me." I said, "What?" And I forgot how I met him. Right?
Yeah.
I
That's real.
knew,
Yeah.
I knew him, and and he goes, "You, when I started my company out of college, you were the first guy that gave me a shot, and you're my first project on my company." He started a development
Mhm.
shop, and he goes, "You were the first person to hire me and trust that I could do a job and got me going. I never forgot that." And now he's at like, I forget, it was like Ernst and Young, and he was like the head of something or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I want to introduce you to somebody. He's like, yeah, whatever you need. Like, you took care of me 10 years ago. Right. And
Yeah.
he never forgot that. So people don't forget, good or bad.
Good or bad. I love that. I think one of the things I think about with connections, particularly in regards to networking, it's almost like like blind date stuff, is that like you kind of take a risk, like, hey, if I connect these two people, kind of my name's on it. So if I connected, like let's say, I'm sure your son doing his thing, right? But let's say your son bombs the interview. You're like, oh God, like
Yeah.
I put him on there. I put him onto that opportunity, And so
Yeah.
how do you make that assessment as a connector? Like I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna connect them, but also like, do you have a pre-call, like, hey, I want you to take it real serious, I'm making a connection for you, kind of thing? How do you uh weigh
Yeah.
that, not say the risk, but make sure that the connections come through, or there's accountability there, and
Well, a lot of people
that there's a
say
good
like,
match.
yeah, a lot of people say with Arthur, oh, connect, you're paying people to make introductions for you. It's all transaction. You're just doing it for the money. I'm like, I'm not doing it because if I don't trust Phil, if I don't trust you to do a good job and put you in front of the person, I'm not going to make that introduction. So
Yep.
what I'll do, and I tell everyone that, like, look, you're part of your community, whatever community you might be in, whatever networking group, chamber, whatever you might be in, yes, you find somebody in that group that can do the job of what you have a client looking for a new accountant or whatever it might be. You're going to talk to that person first, right? I suggest having a one-on-one with that person because you want to know them, you want to feel good about that introduction before you do it, because it is my name on it. I'm not going to introduce you if I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
I want to put my name on it. And then you want to talk to them and make sure that they're going to be a good fit. So I had a friend at Quest Diagnostics, and he was looking for some AI work, and he's a good friend of mine. I know him 25 years, and I had a couple people in my group that did AI. Now, one of the guys I knew was really smart, but he wasn't going to do well at Quest Diagnostics. Right? Quest is a very corporate type of environment, right? This guy was a little quirky or whatever. Like, it's not going to go well. Like, their personalities are not going to mesh. So I'm not going to make that introduction. It's a big deal for me with Quest, right? It could be learn a lot of stuff, but he's not going to do well on it, and it's going to make me look bad. It's going to make him look bad. He's just not going to gel with those type of people. So I found two other people that were more doing a lot of corporate work that know that landscape. And the other person I didn't know. They were in our group, but I hadn't met them yet. So I got on a call with them, and it was him and then his father, who's part of the company. And I got on a call to two of them. We spent an hour together, and I asked them some questions, and I knew they knew their stuff, and I made the introduction. Right. My friend called me and said, "Yeah, I really like those guys. They're good." I said, "Yeah, I knew they were good. I wanted to vet." So you need to vet out people. Yeah. We do a really good job of vetting anyone out that joins our community. We don't just let anybody in. So we have that vetting process. But you always want to talk to someone before that. And again, some of it's just personality, right? Phil, you're like, I might be like, Phil, look, I don't think you two are going to make a big difference. Or sometimes you want to, like, I made an introduction yesterday, and I was like, listen, I'm introducing my friend. He's kind of a hard guy to deal with. He's just like, it's like that, gave him a couple. Yeah. I gave the woman a couple tips on how to deal with him, just so she knows what she's getting into, because you got to, everyone has different personalities. You want to give them that little, inside tips on how to deal with whoever you're making an introduction to. So it comes on both sides, right?
So what I'm hearing for, just like the skill building part is, one, no personalities, read the room when making introductions. Additionally, being very transparent with the vetting, and also transparent with both parties.
Yeah.
So you're transparent with the person you're introducing, saying, hey, I'm going to introduce you. I'd like you to show up on time or do this, and this, yada, yada, yada. But then also to the other person, hey, I'm introducing this person. These are a little bit of background about this person. So therefore, you kind of have to know your network. You can't just be blindly connecting people. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to do that. You again, it's my name on the line every time I make an introduction. So I want to make sure I'm making the right introduction. And I've had people that come on, I'm just like, I'm not going to make that intro, or listen, the first time you do it, it's a trust. My wife's always like, you can't trust people. You've been burned before, and it happens. You get burned by people, whatever. Those people you just cut out, right? If they don't do the right thing, you don't do them again. But sometimes you have to give them that first, hey, I'm going to make this introduction to somebody, right? And people got to follow up when you're making an introduction for somebody. Make sure you follow up. Like if you make an introduction for me, Phil, I want to make sure I respond to that person before they have a chance to respond to me. Like you got to respond quickly. Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
months
Like how'd it
ago,
go, or did you do
right,
it? How'd it go, kind of thing. So
right,
it, like,
yeah,
or actually they actually did. Did you actually, like I do that all the time. I just think about like little nuggets like that. Like, hey, did you actually have that phone call with so and so last week? And they're like, no, I didn't do it. And you're like, oh gosh,
yeah.
like
You have
well,
to,
got you,
yeah.
got you.
And the problem is people don't realize like when somebody needs something, they need it when they want it, right? So like these interns I was talking about before, right? I decided I'm going to bring some interns on, and I was going to interview everyone that week, right? So that week was my week that I was going to do all the interviews. I had about 12 interviews that week, and they got them all done. Right now, another kid sent a time on my calendar for the week after, right? And I got it, and it was a friend of mine, a good friend of mine's son. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna let him slide because I know this guy well. I got on the phone with him Monday. I said, listen, the only reason I'm meeting with you is because you're your dad, because I'm friends with him. I interviewed everyone last week. Like you can't wait. Like when someone there's a job opening and you guys know it's a hard market out there to get an internship, and you wait over a week to book a meeting with me, like you might have lost out on that deal. You can't wait that
You're
long.
not hungry. You're
Um,
not
yeah,
hungry enough.
and he wound up being really good, and I actually hired him. But I said to him, "Don't do this again. Like, don't wait," because I was done last week. And then there was another kid that came on Wednesday that I didn't know, and I basically started interviewing him. I said, "Listen, I'm just telling you up front, I'm not going to hire you. I already made my decision." I said, I've already had the people I'm hiring. I just want to get on the call with you because I want, you want to help these kids.
Make it a teachable moment.
Right. I said, listen, when I wanted to hire somebody, last week was the time for me to interview everyone, and I'm done with that. I moved on to some other project this week.
Did you get some context why? I'm just curious, like were they just not hungry enough, or they didn't prioritize it, or
Yeah, I think they
like
just
I'm wondering if that's also the part about networking, and not say urgency, but just more so like some people are very laissez-faire about building relationships when you need to be like, yo, this is kind of not say serious business, but like you need to be thoughtful, and like this is just as important as the application, as building relationships and follow through and networking. I don't know. I'm just curious what was some of the input that you got
well,
back.
I mean, these kids are just young, so they don't know anything.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
honestly, that's why I got on and said, look, understand, guys, you need to do this. Right. So they were just young. One kid was overseas. He was doing stuff. So they don't think that, oh, okay. And I sent a note to everyone.
yes,
Hey, Phil, look, I got your resume. I'd like to interview you. Here's my calendar link. Pick a time. And they just pick
yes,
a time. And they're like, okay, he said pick a time, but they don't know that they should pick a time that week. Right. So, and get
yeah,
on. Like get on it fast. Who's responding? Especially like if I'm hiring for a sales position, like you better
yeah,
respond quickly. And listen, there's adults don't know how to do that, right? I introduced somebody months ago and made the introduction, and like 3 weeks later, I remember I'm coming out of the gym Saturday
yeah.
morning, and I got this email. Hey, what was that guy's name again? You sent me to, but I'm like, what are you talking?
What? Yeah, yeah,
Are you talking about
yeah,
the guy from 3 weeks ago that I introduced you to? You haven't followed up with
yes,
him yet? And he goes, yeah,
yes,
sorry, I've been busy. I had the flu. I'm like, how long did you have the flu for? 3 weeks?
yeah.
Like, I go,
That's real. That's real.
that guy's already forgot about you. You reach out to him
Yes,
now, he's gonna be like, wait, what was Joe introduced me about? Like,
yes,
send it to
yes,
me. He knows the context. Okay, Joe, I'd like to talk to him. Like, now, hey, Phil, Joe introduced us 3 weeks ago about something. And he's like, dude, I forgot
yeah,
who you were. Like, you can't do that. So look, a lot of people just don't know how to network. So I just actually
yeah.
started writing a new book. It's called I don't want to say, no, we're not supposed to say curse words on here, but it's called
Yeah,
why you suck at networking. It's not a bad word. It's
yeah.
too
That's not a
bad.
bad word.
But it's like,
Yeah.
why are you not doing well in
Why
whatever
you're
group?
not effective at it yet? Why you
These are the
suck
things
at it?
that you need to do. Like I wrote a
Yeah,
chapter this morning about following up, just like I'm talking about following up. Like
that's it. Yeah,
it takes time, and people after like 2 months they give up. Oh, Phil never got back to me. No,
yeah,
Phil's busy. Phil's got other stuff that's a priority. Unfortunately, he wants to talk to you. I made the introduction to you, so it's coming from me. I had a guy I was introduced to in November, right? November,
yeah. I'm tracking. Yeah,
right? So I got introduced. I set up a meeting with him. The morning of the meeting, he canceled. That can't make it now. Something came up. So set up another meeting in December. The morning of that meeting is like something
oh
came up.
gosh.
Right, this guy was from Canada. He goes, my coworker got a ticket to the national title game. So some hockey game, like in Canada, it's like hockey
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
first and everything else. So he's like, so he bailed
Yeah,
again.
get the yeah.
Yeah, I finally had a meeting with him, and I had a great meeting and a follow-up meeting. This was in January. And after that follow-up meeting, Phil, he's like, "Yeah, Joe, I want to get going. I want to test this out. I'm in. I want to use your software." But I hadn't heard from him since January. He has ghosted me since January, right? Just won't respond to emails. They say 7 touches to get somebody to respond,
Yeah,
right?
7 touches, yeah.
I sent them 5 emails, I think, 2 LinkedIn posts, 2 phone calls, like nothing for months since January. And finally, last week, and I just wrote this thing this morning. I sent them a note on June 3rd, just following up with you. And you just can't follow up, right? Follow up isn't like, hey, Phil, just following up. What's going on? That's just me saying, Phil, are you going to buy my product? It's not, that's all I'm asking you, really, right? So you can't just say, hey, looking to catch up, looking to follow up, just want to see how things. No, what's going on? So I said, hey, look, just want to, I don't want to be too persistent, but just want to stay on your radar. They added some new features I think you would like, including this feature. We added like a Slack channel onto our platform, which is big, right? So all the members can talk to each other now. Hey, Phil, I'm not just touching base with you. I'm saying we got some new features. We also have this offer that we're offering, right? You might want to take advantage of. And I said that on June 3rd, and no, again, crickets. June 8th, puts a meeting on my calendar and says, hey, I want to meet with you and actually add these 2 other people from my team. So I'm meeting on Monday, right? After 5 months of just nothing, right? But you have to keep following up until somebody says no. Stop calling me, Phil. Stop emailing me. I decided I don't want your product. Until they say no, you got to keep following up with them.
So you keep following, because I was about to say sometimes I do things like, I'm not going to bother you no more. This is my last reach out. And I tell them I'm not going to do it no more. And then I cut it off. But I get it. Like some finality, persistence. I like the 7 touches. I do the 3. I do the 3 strikes you out kind of thing. Cause I don't like being too, like, I'm like 3, 1 outreach, space it out, another outreach, space it out, another outreach. And I'm like,
but
that's a value assessment of time and prioritization.
Yeah. But listen,
yeah,
the problem is, right? Like, again, they're busy, right? People are busy doing stuff, and it's not a priority right now. So I'll give you an example. On the other side, I had a guy last year, beginning of last year, I think it was January, that I met with that helps grow communities and helps grow your, and he had a great product. And I like what he did. He sent me over a proposal. The money was fine. Like his proposal was good. And I said, listen, we're not there yet. We're raising some money and I'm not there yet. And in September, we raised the money and I was ready to hire him. Now, January to September, right? So 9 months later, I was ready to hire him. He stopped reaching out to me and I couldn't find his name. I couldn't remember his name. I couldn't remember his company name. I was like, what was this? I just forgot, right? Because it's been 9 months. I just forget. What was Phil? What? Phil Watterson?
Yeah.
And I couldn't find him again. So he lost the gig. If he was following up with me every month, staying on.
Yeah. So if he was persistent too, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to remind me, like, right. When I had my marketing agency, we used to send an email out once a month to about 16,000 people we had on our list. And it's just, hey, this is a new project we did, right? And just consistently every month sending out, not to bother you too much, but hey, this is a new project we just launched. About a year and a half after we started that email campaign, I got an email that said, hey, I need a website. I want to talk to you guys, right? And I look up the guy's name. He's the COO of the Yankees. Like the chief operating officer of the Yankees, the New York Yankees. And next week, I was in the New York Yankees. I was in George Steinbrenner's office in his conference room talking to the COO. We did a website for them. He's like, yeah, I've been following you guys. I've been getting your emails. I like the work you've been doing.
So there you go.
All of a sudden, we needed a website, and I remembered you guys because you sent me something every month, and I called you. We got a job with the Yankees. It was great.
So I love this because I like it's just the mindset of persistence, but also balanced persistence, right? So like, you still stay in touch, but you space it out. And then additionally, consistently building a brand that even if it wasn't a direct touch point, they're still following along with you. Like, I get that all the time. Like I get a person like, oh, I've been following you on LinkedIn and I should have reached out a long time ago. And you're like, what? Who are, so they were still watching you. They just never reached out. And so I think that's kind of that combination of you being persistent with outreach, but also being consistent with your other modalities, like your emails or your LinkedIn, because then that organically will bring people back to you too.
Exactly.
So it's kind of both and passive and it's a passive networking, but also just overt
Right.
networking,
Yeah.
right? Those
And
two things.
yeah, and there's a difference between persistence and annoyance, right? Like I got
Yeah.
2 emails from you this week, and you got and look, everyone knows AI now, right? And AI is great. Look,
Yes.
it's a great tool, but like I can easily tell who's AI on LinkedIn. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's like, man, this person is just doing a canned message.
right.
Yeah,
And I know that. There's no, and I got one from you yesterday, and I got another one from you today, and then, hey, just want to make sure you got my message yesterday. I'm like, come on, man. Like, and I just block those people. Like, I don't know how.
unsubscribe.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
come on, like that's
Yeah.
not, like so it's tough. Yeah.
So I got one more question. I think we'll, go to my last segment of the show. Like, if I think about, you just said it, and I'm kind of tailing to the AI, right? And I think as we come out of COVID, I'm in this weird space where I'm like, people don't know how to really do this in person as much.
Right.
Like uh we actually purposely made networking, like, instead of a career fair only, like, because career fairs, you're going there for a job, but just like we wanted to make an alumni student networking event, just like not the so transactional job fair mindset, but just
Right.
building relationships and networking. And we had to do a lot of education, about like how to ask good questions, how to be yourself but not also too pushy. So, to your point, as a pro networking, what are some of the old school, non-digital things that people really need to start working on to be an effective networker?
Well, look, the biggest problem you get with networking is people just think it's like you go to this event and you just say, "Hey, Phil, what do you do?" Like you start the conversation. What do you do? Like, come on, like that's your first question. Like, hey, Phil, where are you from? Like, what do you like? What's your passion? Like, let's get to know each other a little bit. And people do that all the time at these events. Just first question asked, what do you do? I'm like, you want to know anything about me first? Me as a human
Yeah.
being. Like I had other things besides work that I like to talk about. I got kids, whatever. These are my interests and stuff. So
Yeah.
don't start out with the what do you do thing. And look, if the biggest thing that I do at networking events is I want to find one person. I want to find one person that I want to build a relationship with. That's going to be like that person that could be a real referral partner for me, collaborator with me,
Mhm.
right? So I might walk around the room and say, "Hey, Phil, what do you do? I'm in higher ed. I'm teaching." It's not something like maybe it's going to be a good fit for me personally to help me grow in my business. But I'll talk to you, and then I say, "Hey, look, I know you might not be a good referral partner for me because you're not in my space or whatever. But how can I help you?" Right? What can I do for you, Phil? Oh, Joe, I'm looking to meet these people. If I can help you, I might down the line see you on LinkedIn and be like, we connected on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
right? Like I might see that you have somebody that I want to talk to, right? Because you might not be in my space, right? You might not be in the marketing world like I am or whatever. But guess what? One of those fraternity brothers of yours is the CMO of XYZ company I'm trying to get into.
Yeah.
And since I
Yeah.
helped you, Phil, right? Hey, Phil, remember I connected you with Anna a couple weeks. Oh, yeah. I started. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm looking for something now, right? I did it yesterday. There was a woman I reached out to. I connected her like 3 or 4 people.
Mhm.
She has nothing really for me, but I sent her a note and said, "Hey, do you know this person? Yeah, Joe, I'll connect you with that person." Right. So you want to connect with somebody, but then I'll move on. Okay, Phil, it's good to meet you. Like I'm gonna go. And all of a sudden I meet, I know Jane. And Jane's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, Joe, I do this and that." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, you are the person. You and I could do some stuff together, right? You and I,
Yep.
you're in that space that I'm going to lock into her and hang out with her for the next half hour, 40. As long as she wants to hang out with me, I don't need to talk to anybody else. I don't need to go around a room and collect 20 business cards and then put them all. And this is what people do: collect 20 business cards and put them all on a mailing list and start emailing them all their newsletter and think that that's going to get business. No, I just want to talk to Jane because Jane I know is like someone that could really be a good fit for me. And I'll just sit there with her until she wants to stop talking to me. And if she wants to stop after 5 minutes, great. If she's still talking to me 45 minutes later, I don't care. This is someone I want to build a relationship with. So I want to leave that thing, calling her the next day, be like, "Hey, you still going to that play this weekend? How was the thing you went to?" Like knowing stuff about her to build that relationship up, right? That's all you need. So if you get one great person out of those groups, it's fantastic.
That's the yield. I
Yeah.
love that idea. I think two things I like about that is one, not say gamified, but like taking that mindset of I went to this with a purpose, and one is good, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh man, I only talked to one person. Well, that could have been a good one person, right?
Right.
So I'm a coin. I'm gonna say that's the Mindak way. And then I also like the thing that you said about being of service to other people, and I think that really does help. Like, hey, how can I help you? Because then people are like, oh, like, hey, I work in higher ed. How can I help you? If your kids ever want to come to Mason, let them. I can tell them a little bit about what Mason's like, right? That
Right.
service I have, and I think for young people, they could say things like that, where that is their service. Like, you know, uh, I'm in this major. If you have any kids, I can tell. Like, so they can leverage their experience to be helpful to other people, and that brings them value in that situation. Like when it, I think about the power differential. Young people still bring value to the alumni when they're networking, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So we're going to go to the part of the show called Shot for Shot. You get to ask me any random question. I get to ask you a random question. You want to go first, or I go first?
You go.
All right. So I guess sports. We're going to go right into it. You're in Jersey. What is your prediction about these NBA finals?
Oh, I have to say Knicks all the way, obviously, because you can't go against the Knicks, and they're looking good too. So it's a good bet. So they lost the one game, but I think they're still 2-1, and I think they'll take it. They're looking good.
Are you a hometown Jersey native? Like, did you grow up the Knicks, or
Yeah,
was?
I grew up in Jersey, so unfortunately, I'm a Jets fan.
Yeah, yes,
But one thing I can predict is the Jets are not going to be good again this year. So,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's unfortunate. Yeah. Um, so how did you? What do you do in higher education? How did you get into that?
Okay, so I work right now at the career office at George Mason University here in Fairfax, Virginia, right outside DC. I think like most higher ed professionals, no one dreams and says, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to be in higher ed." You kind of fall into it. So after college, my first job was at a school with children with special needs,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Man, I need to go back to school and get a master's." And so I'm from the Northern Virginia area. So I went to George Mason with the intention of getting a degree in counseling, school counseling.
Hmm.
But while working or not, sorry, while going to school for school counseling, I was like, man, all these people, these peers, they're all trying to be school counselors. There's a lot of schools. So I switched over. We had two concentrations. I switched over to the more broad mental health counseling track. And for those that are in school counseling, they get placed in a school for their internship. For those in the other track, we had to find our own internship. And very fortunate for me, I did my internship at the Career Center
Hmm.
at Mason,
Yeah.
doing career counseling. And that was like that. I was like, yo, I want to work in higher ed. I like working at this office as an intern. So after I graduated, I applied for a job there, and they didn't get it because they said I needed more experience. So I worked at different institutions throughout the DC area. But in
Yeah.
2017, I came back to Mason. So
Well,
it was that experience of the internship that really said, how I want to work in this space. I want to work at a university.
yeah.
Um, and, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't grow
I
up
actually
dreaming
want.
for it.
Yeah, I actually wanted to work in higher ed when I was in college. My dream was to stay at Dayton where I was. I loved Dayton,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be in higher ed. I loved I was involved in all these different things in school, and I wanted to be in higher ed. And just things take you, like you said, different places. And next thing you know, I own a marketing company. But I did get back to teach eventually, and I really loved it. And I will do it again, but. For now, I'd actually love to talk to like your kids that are in careers, because after interviewing all these interns, like there's so many things they all did wrong. Like I'd love to just do like
Well,
a
I think that's a lot of the social capital part, and we'll connect on that because I
yeah,
think that is parts like these networking tips and how to present themselves. Yeah, I think there is a lot of education part. Like I said, like I was telling you about this we did we made a alumni student mixer. It's a networking event just to bring them together, and we had to really do some what are expectations and how do you talk to people, and like coming out of COVID, I was like, there's like weird like thinking of it as common sense, but what's common is not common. Like people need to be supported on how to effectively connect with the people and quote unquote network. Because it is right. Like, don't just walk up to someone and say, "Oh, what do you do?" Like,
right,
"Hey, you're a Mason alum. I'm a current Mason student. What was your experience like at Mason?" Like normal conversations that lead to that, but like, so it's a very fascinating thing. And also, I know you know us because Dayton and Mason play each other
Right. Yeah.
in the A10.
Yeah.
I saw Dayton play when you had that guy that made the league. What's his name? Toppin.
Opie Toppin.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw him. I saw him when he came down here to Eagle Bank,
Yeah.
dunking all over everybody. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, geez,
Yeah,
this
he's
dude's definitely
something.
going to the league.
Yeah,
Like,
he was playing for the Knicks. I think he's out of the Knicks now. I think he
yeah, he was out of the
unfortunately he
Knicks. I
left before
remember
the one
that.
thing.
I
Yeah.
remember seeing him like, this dude was nice, yo. Though I remember that.
Yeah,
So.
he was awesome. Yeah, it's great.
So this is the part of the show called shout outs and plugs, meaning you show love to anyone you want to show love to. And then plugs, these are the things I will make sure to put in the show notes for people to connect with you, follow you, the things you're working on. So the platform, the stage is yours. Shout outs and plugs.
Yeah, so I guess I'll shout out my partner who's keeps it all in the background, so I could just sit here and talk to people all day and do these podcasts. So my partner Adrian Sassine, he really does a great job of running behind the scenes and lets me do what I do. So it's good. And all of our members of our group and the people that run our chapters and all the people that help us, Sam, our COO, and Jack, our CTO, like we've got a great crew. So to have that good business behind us. So just like getting a good group of people that help you run the business for you so you can do what you do best is great. And our business is Nolodex, right? Nolodex.com, Nolodex.com. We have a software platform that if you have a community out there and you're looking to engage them and bring in new revenue to your community that you built, like come check it out because we have a platform that's really working for people.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And we'll definitely put your company and everything in the show notes so those can follow up with you. Positive Filter listeners, as you know, every episode is dedicated to the memory of my late father-in-law, Jeff Kirsch. So please consider donating to the Jeff Kirsch Anti-Hunger Fund for all his work that he did fighting food insecurity. Additionally, if you're a member of the Mason Nation, please consider submitting a Pats for Patriots. These are small tokens where you can send a nice e-card to someone affiliated with the Mason Nation to make their day because kindness spreads kindness. So thank you so much. Please give this episode a like, subscribe, or rating on Apple or Spotify, and I appreciate you for listening. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.